And that's kind of where I wanted to start was with the World Baseball Classic. Like I said, it's Tuesday night. We're taping this. The USA's down 3-1 to Japan in the sixth. By the time you're listening to this, you guys will obviously know the result of that game. Trey Turner, another home run. So shout out him. We'll talk about him in a second. But the tournament itself has been like, it's been a very contentious at some points tournament, but also like, I think overall positive. It stirred up quite the debate online about people, about, whether or not people should be like paying attention to it or caring about this tournament. It only happens once every 3 years, and it's kind of a new thing. It's not like the Olympics that's been around for generations, but you have like injuries, like the Mets closer Edwin Diaz, like he tore his like patella tendon in his knee, and Jose Altuve got hit in his thumb. Like there's like implications that reach far outside of like what you would normally think about this stuff. And like I said, on Twitter, it's just been a hotbed of debate. People like, nobody cares about the World Baseball Classic. So I have a 2-part question. I'll start with Colin. Exhibition games that don't count against like your schedule. These games don't really mean anything like in terms of like the World Series or the regular baseball season. Guys are getting hurt. Do you think it's worth the risk?
1,000% worth the risk. There is no better thing to get you ready to play this season than competition you're not familiar with, competition at the highest level, competition on national TV, competition in front of sold out stadiums. It's like they're picking up right where they left off with the playoffs. So I am firmly all in on the World Baseball Classic. Very similar to clubs that are worried about, during NHL, right in the middle of the season when teams go away for the Olympics, and like Alexander Ovechkin's going to play for Russia, say, and here comes Ovi back. It's like, if he gets hurt, the Caps are done, right? Like they're not going to win without Ovi. So it's that debate. But my opinion, it's the preseason. It's a much different thing than the middle of the season. So if guys get dinged up, most injuries, 4 to 6 weeks, Bryce Harper's missing a bulk of the Phillies season. These rosters now are loaded with players, the really good ones. So I don't think it's a problem, Justin. I think it's awesome. And you get to represent your country. So like, I think this for the NHL All-Star game, they should make it based off your country. So Canada, USA, Russia, whomever, they should all play. Sweden, they should do. This is what this baseball game is. It's an all-star game. You get to see talent from around the world. You get to bring more eyes to the United States in baseball. So I'm all for it. I think they should all play in it. And I think it's a great way to get ready for the season. That's what it's all about.
I tend to lean that way too. Just because like there is something special about representing your country, whether it be the USA across your chest or, Japan across your chest, like it does mean more, but also like this tournament has only been around for the last like 20 years or something like that. It's not that old of a tournament. There's not like the history of the game that goes into this one. So it's like, I can kind of get it where people are like, may not be 100% lockstep with what we're talking about. But the numbers don't lie. And I was looking at some of the numbers from these World Baseball Classic games, and it's like 55 million people are tuning in. It's like the highest rated baseball games of all time, more than World Series. Like, Jack, when you think about growing the game, to try to get people like, yourself or people of our generation and Colin's generation to like to try to tune in and watch these games, like, does the World Baseball Classic excite you? Do you think that would get a non-baseball fan interested?
I think it is. Just anytime there's just like like we'll say from like my perspective, like America, like people like that I know that don't normally watch baseball. It's like, oh, America's playing England, and it's just like the 1776 memes. It like gets people to watch the games, making the finals, and encourages people to watch games. So just that national pride, I think, is the biggest driving force behind it. But obviously, the issues with the injuries and stuff have caused a debate amongst fans. But any debate about the World Baseball Classic, in my opinion, is good debate because it just brings more attention towards it.
What if a guy gets hurt in spring training, right? And that's what you're going to bring up too, Jay, I'm sure, is, okay, he rolls his ankle rounding first base in spring training. And really in spring training, are you really that dialed in? Is it a high pressure moment? Are you worried about getting hurt? These moments, like I'll never forget as a kid, John Runyon, the Eagles right tackle, he'd always say, like, you get hurt when you go half speed. And it's happened to me in my career. Like in Carolina, I'm a little sore in practice. It's late in the season. You go half speed, boom, all of a sudden your ankle rolls and you're like, John Runyon was right in 1996 when I heard that. So I think it's great points by Jack. I'll answer the question that you just answered him, Justin, even though you didn't ask me it, is, do you want to know about the ratings? My wife, who watches no baseball unless Houston's in the playoffs, she's upstairs watching the game. I'm like, you going to put your show on? She's like, no, I'm turning up the volume. I was like, ooh, okay. So to me, that's my parameters, like who's in my circle, who's not into whatever we're talking about. And if they're into it, then to me, viewership's up. And obviously the numbers are huge too.
It's huge internationally too. Like these games in Japan are like the most watched games of all time, getting like 50, 60 million people watching. And like the stadiums are sold out. And it's just like a great buzz, great atmosphere, which is cool to see. But yeah, like the injury thing, it literally like it just can happen anytime. Like Edwin Diaz got hurt jumping up and down. So
yeah. And my question to you, Jay, because you're pretty dialed into the overseas baseball market, especially with Brian playing in multiple leagues and obviously hosting the show. Why aren't some of these guys playing in the majors?
It's a good point. I think like internationally, like I know in Japan they have a posting process. So if you play in like the Nippon Professional Baseball League, the NPB, it's like you have to go through like what Shohei Ohtani did. Yet like it's a different set of circumstances. It's not like just like international free agency. Like your club that owns you in that league has to like put you up and like I don't know. It's a whole different like as opposed to like an amateur free agent. But I just like how in some of these countries teams, it's like they have people that haven't played Major League Baseball in 5 years and have been sitting on their couch. Like, is it Danny Valencia? I don't think he's played professional baseball, but he's played, or Vance Worley hasn't played in the majors, Jack's guy, in a little bit. So yeah, they just like anybody who's associated is just like, they throw up the bat signal and they put on the uniform. It's great.
Get it off your chest, Jack. Just talk about the Great Britain. Zach, get it off your chest, Jack. Just talk about the Great Britain uniforms.
Great Britain. Well, the thing is, Great Britain ends up leading into my team recap. So it's a whole long story. If we're
all right, great. I'll just shut the hell up and let Justin run the show. Thank you, Justin. I'm sorry.
Jack, the floor is yours.
Yeah. So for those unaware, I don't think I've really revealed my team. We talked about Texas. I will cover Texas a little bit, but Vance Worley, alongside being a legendary pitcher for the Philadelphia Phillies, is the pitching coach at my current school, Penn State Abington, who I'm very close with the entire baseball team and staff. So, of course, we were tuned in to see Vance Worley strike out Mike Trout, but that was overshadowed, in my opinion, by Great Britain deciding to run to the nearest outlet mall and creating their jerseys, or just going to MLB The Show and typing in Great Britain. It's not even the fact that it's just Great Britain and just bold-faced like Times New Roman. It's the fact that you have to squint to see that it says Great Britain. And it's a terrible jersey. I'm sorry. I will get into my good jersey of the week, but it was just a downright terrible jersey choice. But
it's very, very generic. It's pretty funny.
So I don't think it's blue and white or like red and white, I think, or like they're two. You could not get more generic. I don't know how you could get.
To be fair to Great Britain, like their baseball program I was reading about is up and coming. They're not like well established. So
50,000 a year their budget is.
What's their budget?
50,000.
They all play because they don't play baseball over there. They play cricket.
How much more could it cost to just make the font like twice as large?
2026 World Baseball Classic. We'll have to see. What if they just come out with like the Great Britain flag across it or something? What if they just like go all out? Because you're right. I think they did kind of just go to customink.com and get that thing screen printed real quick.
Anything could be better than that.
TheSun.com. MLB fans want to report a crime as Great Britain World Baseball Classic uniforms dubbed as the ugliest ever. Oh man, that's brutal.
I don't know if they're ugly. I just think they're plain.
They're boring. They're the most boring jersey in baseball.
It's just literally Times New Roman.
They did better than I thought. Yeah, like your guy Vance Worley struck out Mike Trout. Like for a country that's not known for playing baseball, to have a team full of guys do pretty good, I'll take that.
Maybe Mike Trout was scared of like Vance Worley of the Ghost Pass. He's like, I grew up watching this guy pitch for the Phillies. He was number 5 in the rotation, Jack, right? And their team was loaded, and he was 5, and everyone's like, oh, it's Vance Worley, and he was like dominant that year.
Yeah, it was like when I was in middle school. I just remember he had the goggles. That's how I remembered him.
But it was like the loaded roster was like Cole, Hamels, Roy Halladay, Roy Oswalt, and
that was Joe Blanton. Joe Blanton was the 5th? Because I just remember for some reason I hated Joe Blanton.
Of course.
Like,
then he had a home run.
I don't know why. I knew nothing about him. It was just 10-year-old me just despised Joe Blanton.
He probably tried to buy his used jersey for, Thought it would be $10 and it was
I have Roy
100.
Oswald's jersey. I wanted the unique, cool jersey, so I got a Roy Oswald jersey. That was mine. And then I
From
went
where?
to the nearest flea market and got a Harry Callis iron-on patch.
That's commitment.
Justin, get back a hold of the show. I'm sorry that Jack and I are derailing your show.
No, I was just gonna say, like, you know who the last pitcher to have back-to-back 21 seasons was? Roy Oswald. Fun fact.